So let me record. Did that go? Can you tell that we're recording?
Yeah, we're recording.
We're live. We're live, we're recording. I am the activities director at Del Mar. I am Miss Schembri, and with me today is...
I'm Larry Lopez. I'm the principal here at Del Mar High School.
Everybody knows and loves Mr. Larry Lopez. He's famous around here. So we are here today to answer as many questions as possible. We got a lot of submissions, so I tried to kind of go through them, and I will do my best to hit everything, but rest assured that if we do not answer your question today, you can email me, you can email any adult that you feel comfortable on campus. Your teacher outreach teacher has a lot of answers, and then hopefully we'll do another Q&A so that we can hit more questions. One really important question that came up a lot, and I was actually very pleased. People wanted to know how we were doing.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Okay.
Isn't that so cute? How are you, Mr. Lopez?
I'm doing great. Oh, sorry. I'm good, Rory. He's bringing over burritos, and I'm like, I'm okay, food services.
Wow.
Doing really, I mean, as well as we could be, right? You know, I would say exciting things going on. We are trying to become more green at our household. So we're looking at starting a garden, but I kill lots of plants. So if anyone has good gardening suggestions or advice, send it my way, because I have no idea what we're doing. And the shows that I watch on HGTV don't help me with anything about gardening.
Not helpful. Wow. Well, that's a good update. I'm doing great too. Another question that came in was, what's my favorite Taylor Swift song? So I just want to say before we get into the nitty gritty that Folklore changed my life. So thank you for saving 2020, Taylor Swift. All right, we're going to jump right in here. So a couple things that I feel like we should just get out of the way really soon is like, how long are we going to be in distance learning, and is the schedule going to stay the same for this entire semester? So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so thanks again. If you're just joining us, we really appreciate you guys tuning in. As far as the schedule goes, the schedule will be our schedule for essentially for the first semester. So when you pull up your schedule and you're thinking about times and stuff, it's going to be the way it is for the first semester. Mm-hmm. So we are going to be distance learning for the first semester. Now if things change and numbers go down and we get guidance from the county, there is a good chance that maybe second semester we could possibly go back in some way, shape, or form. There might be opportunities somewhere or down the road this semester for some sort of meetings or something. We just don't know so far away what it's going to look like. So as soon as we get more guidance on when we can start letting people back in, what that looks like, we're definitely going to be sending out more information about that.
Yes, another question that came in that I think we can add on to that is about the lab sciences and things that students may need access to campus for. So I think that what's important to remember is that as soon as we can have and safely bring people onto campus, even if it's not everybody, we will immediately alert families and students. But as of right now, we're kind of in like a holding pattern with no one coming on campus. Is that right, Mr. Lopez? Yeah,
so right now as far as lab sciences, I just want to commend our science department. They're already talking about how to do some take-home labs. What that looks like, I have no idea, but super exciting that they're talking about it, discussing what it could look like. So that's exciting. But we unfortunately can't give information on what it's going to look like or how we're going to reintroduce labs. I know that there's lots of programs on campus asking about when they'll be able to get back, even in small groups. Once we have more information, we'll definitely be able to start allowing groups back, but I think it'll be very cautiously. So it won't be like everybody and their mother can come back on campus, but rather maybe select groups, for example, could be some of the sciences. as an example.
I love it. All right, I'm going to take this one. There's a couple here about activities related items, so I will try to get to these. So yearbooks from last year, if you ordered a 1920 yearbook from last school year, those are not in yet. We've had some COVID related delays, as you can imagine, due to just, you know, we left school pretty abruptly in the spring, and then to get the yearbook completed without a large portion of our school year happening in person, and then obviously just delays with getting it ordered and the company. So long story short, those have been ordered. Once they arrive on this campus, I will send out communication to everybody who ordered a yearbook, and we will do a pickup day. So stay tuned for that, but those are not in yet. As soon as I can see them with my eyes in front of me, I will alert you guys. And the next one is about clubs.
Oh, quick question.
Oh, yeah.
What if you didn't order a yearbook, but you still want to order one?
If you didn't order last year's yearbook, we typically get extras. And so any that we have left over, I will put on sale and let you guys know how many extras we have available. But it's pretty typical that we have some left over. So good question. I had a dream last night that the yearbooks came in today. So I'm like, wait, did they come in? But they didn't come in. That was just a dream, but the yearbooks will come soon. Okay, and then clubs. People are asking about creating new clubs and if clubs will be meeting and if we will have club rush. So I'm going to address all these things. So one, you can always make a new club. We love new clubs around here. Even in the virtual setting, we are encouraging our clubs to meet, and we're encouraging students to form clubs and get with your friends virtually and connect over things you love. So we will be having a club presidents meeting next week, I believe. Kate Reinhardt is our club exec in ASB. She'll be sending out an email to club presidents. If you want to start a new club, we will be pushing out information, I would assume right around the same time, to form new clubs. We'll have digital paperwork instead of our physical copies that we normally ask you to turn in, and then ASB just needs to approve your club, and then you can get rolling. So we are super excited to continue clubs and distance learning. I think it's a super important part of keeping kids connected, keeping teachers connected to students. I know that our advisors love running their clubs. So as soon as we kind of get that system up and running, we will have a virtual club rush. If you are a freshman or new to Del Mar, what club rush is where typically in real life, we have all the clubs in the quad, and they have tables and they advertise their clubs, and you can learn about them, sign up, figure out when they meet, all that good stuff. So we're going to do our best to replicate that virtually. So stay tuned for more information coming from ASB about that. Did I miss anything about clubs? Mr. Lopez, can you think of anything?
No, I think that's good.
Great. Okay. Let's see. Let's talk about cameras. Cameras came up a lot in these questions. So do students need to have their cameras on? Is it required? You know, all of that good stuff. Tell us about cameras and video classes.
Yeah. So right now, cameras should be on for your classes. So when you log into whatever period classes, there should be an expectation that your camera should be on. Obviously, there's certain things that are happening in our lives where maybe it doesn't work. So again, on case-by-case basis, you know, we can help in supporting you with that or answering questions. But the reality is you should have your camera on and be visible for your teacher. But again, if there's restrictions or things that are keeping you from being able to do that, we can give you some suggestions, or even letting your teacher know would be a suggestion. But I would say that's probably the best answer I could say.
Perfect. And as someone who does teach a class, I will say that, you know, it does help to see your shining faces, so I don't feel like I'm talking to a wall. But obviously we have things that, you know, impede us from having our camera on, so we want to be mindful about that too. You might notice that myself and Mr. Lopez have these really rockin', like, fun Zoom backgrounds. So we encourage you to, if you're like, you know, doing work in a space that you don't want people to see what's behind you, which totally makes sense, get one of these. You can get any picture. You can make one of these. I have a picture of the Del Mar gym that I sometimes use. So virtual backgrounds are always a good idea. And they're just fun to make, if we're being honest. Okay, this question is about SAT and PSAT. So testing, there was also a question about SBAC and LPAC, all of the acronyms that you can think of for any kind of test. We got questions about if students will be taking those or what if they're changed. So do you have any updates on testing?
Right now, as far as testing goes, we don't have any new information about SBAC. I know that PSAT information is going to be released soon, so we don't have information out about that. I know Mrs. Hallinan, when she comes back, is already starting to test people regarding LPAC testing and stuff like that. So if you are a student who either needed to get tested in that category prior to distance learning, she'll probably be reaching out to you at some point. So I think that covers most of them. And we're not too sure. We haven't gotten information about IB testing for this school year. So as soon as we have more information out about that, I know Ms. Alamet is trying to get information from the IB program on what that looks like. So once we have that information, we'll be able to share that as well.
And I did speak with Ms. Geist right before this. For those of you who don't know Ms. Geist, she is one of our guidance counselors for last names A through GI. And she let me know that if you're worried or wondering about the SAT, College Board's website is very helpful and it updates as things change. So it, you know, if requirements change or if schools change what they want you to do in terms of taking the SAT, the College Board website is super helpful. She also recommended that students look up the schools that they are thinking of applying to, and that school should have an updated like SAT policy, because every school is changing what they're requiring for students who are applying now that we have this you know, challenge with taking the SAT. So the best thing to do is go to College Board or check out the websites of the schools that you're interested in and then see what they require and then kind of make decisions from there. Okay, next up we have a couple questions about PE. So do we need PE clothes, and then how's PE gonna work?
So PE clothes isn't something that you have to worry about, you know, and I think the biggest thing right now is going to be, you know, I think whenever we can go back, then we can start talking about that. Not necessarily an essential thing right now. And then as far as classes go, in talking with Ms. Padilla, what it looks like, since let's say you have PE second period, you have essentially 2 days of class. One day would be a sort of instructional, learning about something related to PE. And then the second day would be like an activity or something that you're physically doing. So that's kind of how they're structuring PE. They may have changed things, so don't quote me on it and expect that this is how it's supposed to be, but that's one of the things in talking with Ms. Padilla that was mentioned.
Great. There's a couple questions coming in the Q&A portion of the webinar. So, and I think they're on here too. So I'm gonna double dip here. But this one I can take about Asb Packages. So Asb Packages are available for sale. They are on our web store. If you participated in the scavenger hunt today, one of the tasks, I guess is the right word, was to navigate and find where the web store is. So that is on our website, delmar.cuhsd.org. It's a little cute button in the bottom right corner. You can get to the web store really easily. Obviously, we are not selling our normal ASB cards, or maybe that's not obvious, I don't know, but we are not selling ASB cards like we normally do, because that just feels, you know, a little bit not important right now in terms of what we're spending our money on. We're not having any games or dances or anything right now that you can use an ASB card to get into. So we wanted to make sure that we were asking our student body to buy something that you can use. So our new ASB packages are all new gear. So we have your class shirts. We have one of our students designed our new Del Mar gear. So we have new Del Mar gear, sweatshirt, spirit shirt, t-shirt, all kinds of new stuff for you to do your school from home and be rocking your Del Mar gear. So those are available on the Del Mar website. Same thing I've said about the yearbooks. When all the orders come in and we get all the shirts, we will hold a pickup day. So if you ordered an ASB package, we'll send out information about when you can come to school and get those shirts and all that good stuff. And the yearbook is also included in the ASB package. So if you want to buy a yearbook for this year, you can get that too. All right. I think I've been seeing a lot of questions about advisory / teacher outreach, Wednesday schedule, and then also I think on the student facing schedule, Mr. Lopez, the IEP meeting slot is listed in the student schedule, and I think that some students are not certain what that means or what they need to be doing during that time. So I can speak to advisory and teacher outreach. Yes, it happens every Wednesday, and yes, you need to go and attendance will be taken. So that one's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and I think the confusing thing that some people have brought up is I know that there's 2 time slots for student outreach advisory. So your teacher should specify when they're meeting. Most teachers are going to be meeting in that morning time slot, that 10:10, I think it is. So most of the teachers should be meeting during that time. If you missed advisory today, if you didn't show up because, you know, craziness with internet or just trying to get your codes, I know that that's been a challenge. So thank you guys for your patience. You could just shoot an email to your advisory teacher and just let them know whatever issues you were having so that you get marked present. But you would go to essentially whichever one the teacher holds class for. Regarding the IEP schedule, the IEP schedule is an individualized education plan. And this is more for teachers so that we have time. There's certain meetings that students and teachers may participate in where we have time carved out for those meetings. If you're not sure what an individualized education plan is, that's okay. But we do have students who are on some, so that's what the meeting time is allocated for specifically. So if you don't have one or you don't have a meeting that day, it's kind of just an opportunity to get work done.
Yeah, and there's some other questions about if advisory / teacher outreach, if that will roll over, like next year, will people be with the same teacher? And I know that, I don't know if we've really made that decision yet, unless you know, Mr. Lopez, but every year we try to put students with who they have in class. So, you know, I guess it just kind of depends. And this is kind of a funky situation in distance learning. So I don't know if we really have that answer.
Yeah, I mean, typically they carry over for the following semester. Again, you know, I think it depends maybe with what happens for next semester, but most likely your advisory class would carry over to next semester.
So there's questions about textbooks. Will we be getting textbooks? Do we need to use textbooks? And if so, when do we get the textbooks and how?
Great question. So on our website, in the little newsletter that Ms. Schembri and I put together, there's information on textbooks and times. So next Wednesday, check my calendar.
The 19th, next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday, the 19th, will be senior and junior textbook pickup. Now, know that your teacher will let you know if you need a textbook. You don't have to necessarily come to campus to pick up your textbooks unless you have to. So again, not all classes are going to need a textbook, but some of you may need it for specific classes, for specific IB classes or anything like that. So find out from your teachers, but we have a breakdown with alpha order by last name, as well as time slots for juniors and seniors for that first Wednesday, the 19th. And then on the 22nd, will be for freshmen and sophomore. And again, there will be a breakdown in letter by alpha order, as well as time slots for you to come. And we're going to be doing it for those of you who are maybe familiar with our campus. The entrance to the student parking lot, gate A, is going to be where we have our book pickup. So you could drive onto campus, or if you need to walk onto campus, you can enter through that area. We'll grab your books and bring them out to you. If you can, just make sure that you have your schedule available to show us. And you can do that on School Loop or Aries, whatever works for you. Just make sure that you have your schedule available, or if you even print it out, you could just give it to us.
Great. And I'm gonna just put a plug in here for the document you're referring to. So if you guys have questions still, and if you're, if you want to visually see the times and the days that Mr. Lopez just referenced, I believe the link is bit.ly/firstdayFAQ. So that's bit.ly/firstdayFAQ, all lowercase. And it has the, it has a graphic with the textbook pickup times and days, as well as lots of other information. So if you have any more questions, you can refer to that document. I can take this one, this question, or there's a lot of questions about ID cards and photos. So seniors especially, I know you're just super itching to take senior photos, and I want you to take senior photos so bad. As of right now, photos are not considered an essential business. And until we can find a way to safely bring you on campus or send you to the studio in a safe manner to get your senior portrait taken, we can't do them. So we will do them this year. We will figure out some type of way to get senior photos taken, but as of right now, that is not, they are not happening. I will say senior photos this year, we will be letting students wear an outfit of their choice instead of the traditional tux and drape that we normally have in the yearbook. So that's fun to look forward to once you do take your senior photos. If you're like in the band, or you play a sport, or you have just like a really fun outfit you want to wear for your senior photos, that will be allowed. So that's cool.
Awesome.
Can
I answer this one question, Ms. Shepard?
Yeah.
Maria, she asks, can we still get work permits? Yeah, so you can totally get work permits. We have the applications here on campus, or if you want to email Miss Knight, that's cknight@cuhsd.org. She is our college and career specialist. She's doing all of our work permits, so she can get the paperwork and stuff for you if you need it.
Great. So in terms of ID cards, we are not doing ID cards right now because we don't have our printer. I need to get it back from our company. We rent it from them. But so if you really, really, really need an ID card, like you're applying for a job, or you need some type of proof that you are a student and that you go to Del Mar or whatever that case might be, I would suggest maybe, well, you can email me. My email is cschembry@cuhsd.org. You can also find it on that document that I talked about earlier. And we can find a way to get you one, even if it's just like printing you a paper copy. We can do that. But as of right now, ID cards are not happening simply because we don't want a bunch of kids coming to campus and getting them. So it's just on a kind of like a need to have type of basis. There's another question. Will pictures be posted on the web store on how the shirts and sweatshirt will look like? I can do that. Yes, I will post pictures of what the new gear looks like. It's very cool. The class shirts are amazing. The new Del Mar gear is really cool. So I will post those on the web store so you guys can see what they look like. Good question. Okay, Mr. Lopez, do you have any information about dual enrollment? Will classes be in person?
Dual enrollment classes shouldn't be in person. I can confirm with Ms. Geist really quick, and but no classes, including SVCTE, should be in person.
Okay.
So if you are hearing otherwise, let us know, because that shouldn't be the case. But if you haven't heard information on like when your classes are for dual enrollment, I'll talk to the counselor so we can get that information out.
Got it. Oh, here's a good one. Does your profile picture on Gmail have to be of yourself? Like,
oh, that's a good question.
You know, like so if your screen is, if your video's off, whatever shows up for your profile picture.
Yeah, so what we've suggested is you should have either a picture of yourself or either like if you can make a Bitmoji, that would be good. One of the things that I want to deter people from doing is we don't want to have object pictures or like things that you find on the internet and you change that. So if you need help with changing out your photo or how to do that, we can get you guys information. But for those of you who sometimes don't put your camera on, it's nice to see what you look like, even if it's just a still photo of you or if it's your Bitmoji, just so that people can get an idea of what you look like, because we've been away from each other for so long. So I think that's something to consider.
We have another question here about what happens if links don't work, like the teacher links that are posted on Aries. What's the best way to go about that if the links aren't working?
Yeah, I think we ran into a couple issues, and again, thank you everyone for your patience with today. We hopefully have sorted out all of our issues with links. One of the things that I'd say is check School Loop or check your Aries, but then also maybe refresh if you're having an issue, because sometimes teachers have gone in and for whatever reason maybe copied a wrong link or had one thing change or had to update it. And so sometimes you have to log off and then log back in for it to update. So do that first. If you're still having issues getting on, reach out to the teacher and just say, hey, I'm having issues getting on. They might be able to respond with an answer, but they might also be in class. So just be patient. And then worst case scenario, always feel free to call us or email us in the main office so that we can help out as well. And to piggyback off that, if a teacher loses internet reception or disappears from class briefly, know that that doesn't mean class is over. It just usually means like an internet issue. So don't worry if they're on some sort of Google Meets link. They'll probably pop back on, but just a reminder about that. I know sometimes when people lose internet, they think, oh, well, class is over then, but
we have some questions about ROTC. So will we be issuing ROTC uniforms, and how will ROTC work?
I would say, the best, I'm going to turn that over to Major Ruiz and Mobley on that question. I haven't talked to them over the summer about what that would look like, so I can't answer that. But I know that they have collected uniforms. If you still have a uniform out that you need to turn in, they're still accepting those uniforms. So, yeah.
That's a good segue into this other question. If students have to pay fines or to return things from last year, what's the best way to go about doing that?
You can drop off any books here in the main office. So feel free to bring them anytime. And then if you have fines for books or things that are lost, maybe check with Miss Gardner or Miss Duran on what those are, because we've also found that there's a lot of reasons why you could have books. You might have books that were left in a locker that you still need to clean out. So I think don't initially pay fines until you know what they're for. So you might find that you didn't clean out your locker, or maybe you lent it to someone and they haven't cleaned out their locker. So the best thing that I can say is try to get all your textbooks in as soon as possible. But then if you have a locker that needs to be cleared out, we definitely want you to reach out to us so that we can schedule some time for you to come in and do that.
We've got a couple questions on the grading policy and will grades be pass-fail? Will they be regular grades? That sort of area of questioning.
Yeah, so grading, we're going back to our letter grading system for this year, so A through F. It is standards-based grading, so just a reminder, the idea is that only 20% of your work should be counted for things that are non-assessment like assignments. So just be mindful of that. A lot of it really weighs heavily on knowledge and understanding of content. So be very familiar with your teacher's grading rubric and what that means. And then if you have questions, feel free to ask, or feel free to reach out to us so we can help in answering some of those questions.
We have got a question of, oh man, I just lost it. Where did it go? Oh my gosh, I'm doing like a lot of things over here. There's some questions about sports. So are we going to be allowed to have social distancing sports? Will we be allowed to play other schools? When do sports begin? All of that kind of stuff. And I know Mr. Castaneda has sent a lot of correspondence on this, but I want to make sure that we address it here as well.
Yeah, so right now sports have been moved to sort of the winter springtime, and it's kind of like all the seasons jam-packed into 1.5 seasons. So right now it's tentatively supposed to start, I believe, in January, and then we'll go until the remainder of the school year. The problem is that we just don't know where things are going to be. So there's a chance that things could get moved or shifted, but we won't know until we get closer. So we'll have to wait on some of that information. So I think that goes along the lines of competing with other sports teams and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple questions that have come in on the forum and on here about School Loop. And the first thing that I want to address is, and then you can take the, like, is School Loop, our School Loop logins working? But there was a question specifically about Aries versus School Loop. So I just want to differentiate. Aries is where you're going to check your schedule and see your class codes and navigate to your classes. School Loop is still where you'll see your grades, like always. Is that a fair differentiation, Mr. Lopez?
Yeah, and I think the main thing is we love and hate School Loop for many, many reasons. And if you've been here at Del Mar, you can probably say the same. So the thing is that for next school year, for 2021-2022, we won't be using School Loop. So we have to look at other platforms. So we're really trying to scale back from School Loop this coming year. So really think about School Loop as when I get a final grade, that's where it goes. But Google Classroom is where you're going to know what your assignments are. Mm-hmm. And then Aries is sort of your main hub for communication. Mm-hmm. Now it's a little crazy because we're talking about all these different platforms, mm-hmm. Which I know is really challenging. Our goal by next year is to really cut down on the amount of different platforms and things that you have to navigate through and communicate with. And so our goal is to really, by the end of this year, have more of a clear cut. This is what we're using for communication. This is what we're using for grading and classwork.
And there are some questions about, will we still have like all of our normal vacations? So that came in a few times, like, do we still get, February break, and do we still get 2 weeks off in December? Like all of those kinds of normal days off that we're used to in our regular in-person schedule, do we still have those?
Yeah, so the days off that you currently have will still remain. You can also get a copy of the district calendar on the district website in case you're wondering what it looks like. The one change, or I guess the couple changes, are going to be minimum days. You won't see minimum days, so there won't be days in the schedule where you get to essentially get out early. So you won't see that. The other thing is if there is a holiday on a Monday, let's say, so if you're going to class Tuesday through Friday because there's a minimum day on the holiday, the schedule shifts over a little bit. So you would have Monday off, and then your first class or your A day would be Tuesday, and then Wednesday would be B day, and then Thursday A day, Friday B day. So we would lose that collaboration advisory time, and that I think we're planning on having that maybe once or twice, so it won't impact us too much, but just a heads up that your schedule will shift over when we have a 4-day school week.
There is a question here, which I think kind of piggybacks on your talk about School Loop. There's a rumor going around that we're not using Loop Mail anymore. Word's out. So is that true? Are we not using Loop Mail anymore? What's the best way to contact your teachers or any other adult at school?
Yeah, so we are encouraging people not to use loop mail, which I know is challenging because we've gotten so familiar with it, but I want people to really not think about all these different forms of communication. And I think we really want to try to formalize our communication process. So for emailing teachers, if you need to get a hold of them, teachers are all going to be set up on Remind, and they also have all their Gmail emails. So you can always send them an email through Gmail and send it that way from your account. Or you can always send a Remind message to them. The reason we're trying to get away from School Loop is it's just another level of communication, and then it becomes the question of which way is the best way to communicate. We have looked at more streamlined communication, possibly for second semester, maybe for next year, called Parent Square. And I know it doesn't sound cool because it has the word parent in it essentially, but ideally it does the job of School Loop, it does the job of Remind. It also works as sort of like a Facebook or social media interface. So it does a lot of great things. You can also get forms. So if you're a club or you're going on field trips, whenever that might be, you can have forms and stuff. So our goal is to eventually roll that out. But for now, we're really pushing Remind as our main form of communication, followed by sending Gmail to your teachers.
I can take this one if you want, Mr. Lopez. There was a question today about how come we didn't have any other classes today, and then is every Wednesday going to look the same as today? So Wednesdays on the student schedule, your only place that you will go is teacher outreach. So not just today, but every Wednesday. We want you to use your Wednesdays as a day to catch up on work, ask any questions you may need to ask of your teachers. Go to that teacher outreach period for 30 minutes and, engage with that teacher. They're there to help you. So that's a good time to go with a lot of questions like, hey, I'm falling behind in this class. I need some help. Or I can't, access this one Google Classroom, or my computer broke. I need help. All those kinds of things are things that your teacher outreach teacher can help you with. So you do need to go to that class, and then you won't have academic classes otherwise on Wednesdays. So today was kind of your first one. It was kind of weird. We started with that on the first day of school. I know that seemed a little like, what are we doing here? But that's how every Wednesday will be for the rest of the semester. So, and did I miss anything, Mr. Lopez?
The other thing I was going to mention, I didn't answer this about School Loop. If you're having issues getting on or you can't access, shoot an email to your counselor or assistant principal, or you could send it to me as well. We can reset your password so that you can get access to School Loop. So that wouldn't be too much of a problem.
I think we talked about this a little bit at the beginning, but I see it coming in a lot. So I just want to address it one more time. So the question of like, what is next semester going to look like and when do we go back to school? As of right now, as it stands, we are distance learning until January. And, at some point down the road, I don't know when, but at some point down the road, the powers that control the guidelines and the safety of all of us will make more decisions, I'm assuming, about, when it's safe to bring us back onto campus. So right now, again, we're in like a holding pattern. We are here until January online. That's what we know for certain. But just like you guys, we're waiting on more information on, the state guidelines, the county guidelines, and then it goes down to our district to kind of make decisions that will keep us safe within those guidelines. So there's a lot of different things at play that we have to work within. So I know it's frustrating and it's hard to not have that answer, but right now what we know to be true is that we will be online until January, and then I assume before January we will know more information about what happens kind of at that semester cutoff. Is that right, Mr. Lopez?
Correct.
So again, the minute we have information that we can share, we will share it. I mean, we know that people want to know. We want to know. So we will make sure that we share that as soon as we can. There was one here that there was a question about, and I can take this one too, about, so, you know, prom, virtual kickoff dance, virtual rallies, all that kind of stuff. So the ASB class is trying their hardest and doing a great job to try to bring you guys some virtual spirit, some student connection. Obviously, the task is really hard when you all are missing out on really big, fun, monumental things like the prom, or this week we would normally be having our kickoff dance, and next week we would normally be having our kickoff rally. Those are all things that we miss and that we wish we could have. So they're going to be doing a lot of student forums and panels on what you guys do want, what can we do virtually. They're going to be getting a lot of feedback from the student body on what kinds of things do you want to see, because obviously we can't gather with hundreds of kids to have the prom right now. I mean, I don't know about in May, but we'll use the kickoff dance. Like the kickoff dance obviously can't happen this Friday. So as of right now, those things are kind of at a standstill, but we are working as a group to get, you know, those kinds of activities up and running. We may do a virtual homecoming. I don't know yet. That's kind of going to be up to the ASB class and the student body if you guys want something like that. So these kinds of things are all in flux. And if you have any opinions or ideas, please send them to me. We are taking all feedback from the students. So if you have any ideas, I would love to hear them. Please send them to me. All righty, let's see here.
There was a question on office hours. Do you mind if I take that one?
Oh yeah, get in there, office hours.
So we are working currently with teachers on office hours. You probably have seen the schedule where there's like 8 different office hours or whatnot. So office hours, teachers are going to have set office hours where you can join their office hours or ask questions. Some might be by appointment only. So what we're doing is we're collecting all the information from teachers, and then we'll make it available on our website. Teachers will probably also have their office hours and links for their office hours on their Google Classrooms. So just be on the lookout for that. Our goal is to have them all finalized by the time we have back to school night.
This question has come in a couple times. How is foods class going to work?
Great question. I actually saw Mr. Krogan. Jeff, cool. I saw Mr. Krogan this week, and we sort of talked a little bit about that. One of the things that we're talking about and trying to figure out how to do foods online or foods through distance learning might be similar to how we talked about science or even arts doing this, where they have kits. Where you can pick up kits of items and then you take them back. So we're looking at how do we do or provide kits of food so that you can do or prep or make things essentially from home. So those are some of the things that we're looking at. Obviously, there's a ton of questions that could follow with what type of equipment you might need and stuff like that. So these are all things that Mr. Krogan's working on and some of the details and stuff, but those are the things that he's, you know, our teachers are being very thoughtful of and just thinking about how do we think outside the box so that we can provide the best for our students.
And he's so great. Whatever it is, it's going to be really fun. I can tell.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. This is an easy one I'm going to take. Was the scavenger hunt today required? No, it was not required, but highly encouraged. The reason being is that our Del Mar website is a robust resource for you guys, especially in distance learning. There is so much on our Del Mar website. So we wanted you to basically take the time to navigate through it and, you know, find all the resources that are on there. If you didn't get a chance to, that's okay, but just know that the Del Mar website is your friend and you should use it, and it has the answers to a lot of questions. So that's a simple one. Another question that came up a lot was, how did students contact their guidance counselors if they have questions about their schedules, if they have like college needs, all those kinds of things. If your last names are A through GI, Miss Geist is your counselor. You can send her an email anytime. She's great. Miss Baez is last names G-O through O. Again, send her an email. She's happy to help you. Last names P through Z. You have Mr. Mendoza. He is also ready to help you. So you can send them emails. I believe they'll be holding office hours. Is that right, Mr. Lopez?
Yes. So I just messaged that. So they're going to be posting their office hours on the school website soon, similar to last year.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be able to set appointments with them. You can also just shoot them an email. They're really great about responding to emails and stuff. So if you need to get a hold of them, like right as we're on this call, feel free to shoot them an email.
Yeah, definitely. And we also have a new college and career specialist, Miss Knight. And she is also readily available and happy to help you with any college and career needs you may have. So all of that was part of the scavenger hunt. One of the questions, there's a whole page related to our guidance department, college and career, all of that stuff. So make sure you find that, bookmark it, save your counselor's email so you can get in touch with them for sure. This question's a good one. For schoolwork, do we need to use our school computer or can they use their personal computer?
We encourage you to use your school computer over your home computer. Just the reason being is, we don't necessarily know what people's home computer is like. There's lots of things that we don't have security over. So I think the preference would be use a Chromebook. And if you still need to pick one up, we can issue more Chromebooks. So you can always come by campus. We want to make sure everyone has a school Chromebook in their hands.
Another thing I want to add to that is that if you are not using your school Chromebook for whatever reason, you should be logged in as your CUHSD account. Always, if you're doing school stuff, log in with your student ID and your school stuff, because that's a lot of our things with distance learning, like our Zoom calls, like this Zoom, for example, you can't get in unless you have a CUHSD email at the end, like end of your email. Some of our Google Forms we send out, you have to use CUHSD. So if for some reason, or like when you're logged in on your phone, just use your school account, because a lot of things require that account.
And just to follow up with that question about school computers, how long we have them for. So you have them until you're a senior. So once you're getting to the end of your senior year, you'll return that through the checkout process. So you'll have it for all 4 years.
Yes. This is a good question. Are Instagram and Bitmoji required? No, they are not. And they say here, a lot of teachers talk about them. They do. Teachers are obsessed with Bitmojis, you guys. It's a weird grown-up obsession we have. We love Bitmojis. They're so cute. So the reason you may want a Bitmoji as a student is that if you're not comfortable putting a picture of yourself or having your video camera on for the online calls, it's a nice little kind of representation of what you look like. That can be your profile picture. So it's just like fun to have, it's like a little animated version of you. Why not? You could change its outfit, super fun, but not required, but highly encouraged. Instagram, not required either. If your parents are like not letting you have social media or you just don't want social media, that's okay. We do not require that you have social media. We just use it to push out information. It's another resource where you can find answers to things. I run the ASB Instagram account. It's where we put out a lot of our like virtual spirit. Our Del Mar Dons account is where a lot of just like important information gets pushed out. And so we know students are often on social media. So if you do have it and you want to follow us, it's a good resource, but not required.
And one of the questions that came up was, what are we supposed to wear during a Zoom call?
Wow.
Great question.
I love talking about fashion. What do you wear, Mr. Lopez?
I think the main thing is whatever you would wear to school would be appropriate, and anything that you wouldn't wear would be deemed inappropriate. So, we have I'm very proud of our dress code policy and the fact that it's very flexible for all students, regardless of where you stand. And so I think that's the big thing about our dress code policy, and it does apply to distance learning as well. So again, you know, if you decide to wear pajamas every day through distance learning, I mean, that's your prerogative, and no one's going to say otherwise. But just remember to make sure that it's appropriate, whatever you are putting on, especially if your camera's on. And, you know, I think as we encourage people to wear their cameras, have their camera on, just be mindful of what you're wearing. And if you need to, this question, I don't know if it came up in this group, but one of the questions came up about if a student needs to use the restroom, which I think was a great question.
Great question.
But, you know, there's times when you're going to have to step away and turn your camera off. And I don't think we're saying that you have to have it on the whole hour and 10 minutes, but the idea is you should be able to be on and engaging with other students, because think of how awkward it is to have only 2 or 3 cameras on and then everybody else has their camera off. So really think about, even though as uncomfortable as it might make you, like, the cool thing about this is I tend to look up and not even at my camera, so I don't even see how people are looking at me, which is
looking at myself, and that's the truth.
And there you go. And to each his own. So that's totally.
I'm looking at my little self in this little box to make sure I don't, like, you know, have like my hair out of place or something.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Mr. Lopez. There are a couple questions. Is this being recorded? Yes. And will it be posted on the school website? Yes. So if you know anyone who's not watching, or if you are like, whoa, they are talking so fast and I don't remember anything they said, that's fine. We will post this on the school website, and you can watch this excitement as many times as you want. That's the great thing about technology, is we can do this all day. Another question about performing arts. So there's been questions about plays. Will band come back? Do you want to take that one, Mr. Lopez?
Yeah, and actually I just went to the performing arts boosters meeting. I think it was a couple weeks ago. So they are looking into software so that they can stream online performances and stuff. So there still will be some sort of performances, but they'll look a little different. And those of you who might have attended their end of the year celebration last year, that was a virtual performance. So it gives you kind of an idea of what to expect.
Mr. Burkhead, I just saw him like 10 minutes before we hopped on here, and he is working so hard to bring you guys all kinds of alternatives to what he and Miss Griswold normally put on in terms of performing arts. Oh, did you guys just go away? No. I don't know what just happened. Oh, there you are. They're working really hard. They're going to be doing lots of fun virtual stuff, so stay tuned for that. They also have an Instagram page, so if you want to follow Del Mar Performing Arts on Instagram, please do. All right, we have 8 minutes left. Let's just kind of hit some of the big stuff in here. Mr. Lopez, I don't know if you see any that you feel like are, you know, super pressing.
For athletes who do sports, we have to take a COVID test. No, but you should not. For those of you who are practicing, or student athletes who are starting to meet in cohorts, which will possibly be coming up, you should not come to campus if you're feeling any of those symptoms. So talk to your coach or reach out to Mr. Castaneda about more about that.
Yes, definitely.
And then we don't know about being back in person next year. So again, not too sure.
Let's see. Clubs, I think we already addressed. Battle of the classes. All those things are just, clubs will be virtual, like I said. Battle of the classes and prom and all those things are kind of on hold right now. We'll do our best to, you know, do things virtually, or if things majorly change and we can do things in the spring, we'll do that as well. Are we still using the Hero app?
No, we are not using the Hero app because we're not checking students in for anything. So we're not using that.
There's a question about, are students getting instruments?
Oh, I actually mentioned, I emailed that. Go reach out to Mr. Burkhead if you are in need. I know he's been working on getting instruments to people. So if for some reason you haven't gotten his communication or still need to get some, connect with him.
there were a couple questions on the Google form and in here about attendance and tardies. So will it be strict? Will we be taking attendance? Do tardies count? All that kind of stuff.
Yes, so attendance will count. So again, truancies, if you're significantly late to class, all of that does count. I know it seems like, well, what's the point because I have nothing, but we still issue work permits. So I just want to throw that out there because we have seen such an increase of students getting jobs, which is awesome and phenomenal.
Good job.
But priority number one is school. So you have to make sure, I know that a lot of you want to work 40 hours a week and whatnot, which is great. But again, we are back in school. Your priority should be school. So being in class and live for learning is going to be most essential during this time.
There's a question about senior night for sports. Will players be allowed to play games? Or are there going to be spectators? I don't know if we have that answer quite yet. I know that CIF came out with new guidelines and dates, but I don't know if they said anything about spectators versus no spectators unless I missed it.
Nothing new yet.
Okay, so Mr. Castaneda, as soon as he gets more info and I think as it inches closer to January when a lot of sports will start up, December, January time, more of those specifics will come out regarding, you know, if we'll be allowed to have spectators, if we can. Of course, we'd love to have a senior night, so just kind of stay tuned for that. Cheer, that came up a lot. As of right now, we are not having cheer. We are not gathering. We're not holding tryouts for anything. That is one thing that's on hold right now in terms of like the activities side. I will get in touch with you guys as soon as that, if that changes, but right now we are not having cheer.
I did want to talk about attendance. I know there's a couple of questions on this.
Yeah.
If students miss class, how do they make it count? So if you miss a class, you have to reach out to your teacher that day or submit any work for you not to be marked absent. So again, if you miss class, make sure to let your teacher know. You can also call Mr. Jones in the attendance office or shoot him an email. But you should be communicating anytime that you are not able to make it to class. Anytime that you miss class and we don't hear anything, the following day it'll show up as an absent. Now there's sometimes where maybe you message Mr. Jones at 11:50 p.m. and obviously he's not checking his email. You might see an absence the following day, but he spends the next morning trying to clear all those. So it is important to be at each of your classes. We know emergencies and things come up, but just make sure to treat it like a job. Make sure that you communicate if you are not going to be in class.
There is another question here about supplies. So, you know, will students need supplies, papers, pens, notebooks, etc.? And if so, how do they get them? Or do
Great question. So I want to, huge shout out and thank you to Blanca Diaz, the Lions Club, and Awakening Church. They have donated supplies. So if you come onto campus next Wednesday to pick up books or the Wednesday after, I know we kind of talked about textbook pickup. If you need supplies or anything, let us know as you come up. We do have some things available, so we can help you with that. I wouldn't say that we have everything. So, we don't have a laundry list of things, but if you need some essentials like pencils or pens or paper or anything like that, we're able to support you if you do have needs for those.
All right, we have a couple more minutes. This last question I feel like is relevant to a lot of people. What happens if I don't have a first period? When does my day start? It just starts on the second period block. So as you may know, if you're a freshman, you might not know this, but for those of you who are students from last year, not everybody has a first period. First period starts much earlier than the rest of the school day. So not everyone in the school is enrolled in a first period. So if you don't see that on your schedule, that's totally fine. It's very normal to start with period 2. So don't worry about that. And then I think a good place to end, Mr. Lopez, unless you see another question, is what do we do after this Zoom? Because on the schedule, there's another teacher outreach period.
Yeah, so if you haven't reached out to your teacher yet, feel free to connect with them. They might not be live at this time since all of our teachers pretty much went live in the morning. But if you did miss, just make sure to reach out to them. If you already checked in with your advisory teacher, then you've done your due diligence today. I think the biggest thing I'd say is make sure that you have your Google Classroom codes entered and you've added them to your page, and you can do that by going on to Aries. Make sure to read some of the documents and be familiar with the website. Me and Ms. Schembri put together a little bit of information. That would be helpful. I think the biggest thing is just prepare for those types of things, and then just anything that you can do to prep yourself for tomorrow, I think is key. So tomorrow is going to be a real busy day where you're back to back to back with classes. So anything that you can do to set yourself up for success for tomorrow is going to be key.
Yes, and if you have any questions at all, you're leaving this Q&A and you're still super confused about tomorrow, you can email me, you can email your guidance counselor, you can email your teachers, your teacher outreach person, anybody whose email you can get your hands on. Everybody's happy to help you. So with that, I am going to say goodbye here. It was fun. Thank you everybody for joining us. If there are more questions, and Mr. Lopez and I will do another one of these if they're helpful. So we hope you all had a good first day, and we'll see you virtually tomorrow, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Take care of yourselves.